Welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of rare coins, numismatic treasures, and the stories behind how seemingly ordinary pocket change can turn into life-changing fortunes. And today we have something that will absolutely blow your mind, a humble 1996 1-cent coin, a penny, that in the right condition and with certain rare errors has fetched up to a staggering $2.6 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny worth more than most luxury homes, exotic cars, or even some private islands. And in this video we're going to take you on an incredibly detailed journey through the reasons why this tiny copper-plated zinc coin could be worth such astronomical sums, what makes it so special, the exact types of errors and mistakes that could push its value into the stratosphere, and how even coins you might think are completely ordinary could be hiding rare features that collectors are desperate to own. So let's start from the beginning, because understanding why a 1996 penny can command such a price means knowing about the coin's history, its composition, the mintage numbers, and the factors that make rare variations so valuable. In 1996 the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies, primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with a few proof issues from San Francisco. Most were struck in copper-plated zinc, a composition the mint had been using since 1982 when rising copper prices made the old 95% copper pennies too expensive to produce, so on the surface the 1996 penny doesn't stand out from the billions of others struck in the 1990s, but the devil is in the details, and in coin collecting those details are everything. One of the biggest drivers of rarity and value in modern coins is the presence of minting errors, and the 1996 penny has several documented varieties that are so scarce and so visually dramatic that collectors will bid aggressively for them, pushing prices into the millions for the rarest examples in pristine condition. Now let's break down the types of errors that can occur, starting with double die obverse, where during the minting process the coin's design is impressed onto the die more than once but slightly misaligned, creating a ghostly doubling effect on the lettering, numbers, or even Lincoln's portrait. For the 1996 penny, certain double die obverse varieties show strong doubling on the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and when these errors are bold and easy to see with the naked eye, especially on uncirculated coins, they become numismatic gold. Another major category is off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank isn't properly aligned in the press and the design is struck off-center, with part of the blank left unstruck. The most valuable off-center 1996 pennies are those that are 50% off-center or more while still showing a complete date, because having the date visible confirms the year and makes the coin much more desirable. Then we have broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally shapes the rim, causing the coin to spread out and appear larger than normal, which can be dramatic and eye-catching to collectors. Equally interesting are clipped planchets, where the blank itself is missing a curved section because it was punched out of the metal strip too close to the edge, creating a crescent-shaped clip that is instantly recognizable. And while clipped planchets can occur in any year, finding them on 1996 pennies, especially in mint state condition, is far less common. Perhaps one of the most exciting errors is the transitional wrong planchet strike, where a coin is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another denomination. For example, a 1996 penny struck on a dime planchet, which would make it smaller, thinner, and composed of a copper nickel clad instead of copper-plated zinc. These mistakes are incredibly rare and often end up being the headline-making million-dollar examples. Then there's the famous double denomination error, where a coin is struck first as one denomination and then mistakenly struck again as another. Imagine a 1996 penny struck over a Roosevelt dime design. It creates a bizarre hybrid that's part penny, part dime, and extremely sought after. Beyond errors, there are also varieties caused by minor differences in the dies used to strike coins, such as repunched mint marks, where the D or P mint mark was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions. For 1996, a bold repunched D mint mark on a Denver issue in perfect uncirculated condition could sell for eye-watering amounts because of its combination of rarity and visual appeal. Now you might be wondering how a coin like this actually ends up commanding $2.6 million, and the answer lies in the intersection of rarity, demand, and condition. In numismatics, the condition of a coin is graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect coin with no visible flaws under magnification. A 1996 penny with a major dramatic error that grades at MS68 or MS69 is practically unheard of, but when it happens, wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to secure it, because owning such a coin isn't just about its metal value or even its face value, it's about prestige, bragging rights, and owning a piece of minting history that is literally one of a kind. Auction houses that specialize in rare coins Often see frenzied bidding wars over such pieces, with the price climbing into seven figures as bidders recognize the opportunity may never come again. The story doesn't stop there, because part of the appeal is also the human fascination with mistakes, especially ones that slip through the rigorous quality control of the US Mint. Every error coin is essentially a small rebellion against the perfection of mass production, and that imperfection, frozen in metal, becomes a symbol of rarity, survival, and intrigue. Now let's consider the possibilities that could make your own 1996 penny valuable. Perhaps you've had a jar of coins sitting in your kitchen for years, or a roll of pennies you never bothered to open from the bank. Inside could be a double die obverse, an off-center strike, or even a wrong planchet error that could turn into a small fortune. The odds are slim, but they are real, and history is filled with stories of ordinary people discovering life-changing coins in the most mundane places. What makes the 1996 penny especially intriguing is that it's modern enough that millions are still floating around in circulation, meaning the treasure hunt is still ongoing. Unlike older rare coins that are almost entirely locked away in collections, this means that your chance of finding one, while still tiny, is greater than for many other million-dollar coins. For serious collectors, finding such a coin is the ultimate prize, a blend of luck, knowledge, and persistence. And for casual observers, it's a fascinating reminder that even in the most ordinary parts of life, extraordinary value can hide in plain sight. So when we talk about the $2.6 million 1996 penny, we're not just talking about a chunk of metal, we're talking about the thrill of discovery, the art and science of numismatics, and the enduring human desire to find something rare and valuable where no one else has thought to look. And that's why these coins capture our imagination and our wallets. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1996 penny and the incredible stories and errors that make it worth such staggering amounts, make sure you stay tuned for more fascinating explorations into the world of rare coins, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the chance to learn about the next piece of small change that could change your life. Next, we explore the thrilling world of rare coins, unbelievable auction prices, and the fascinating mistakes in minting that can turn ordinary pocket change into extraordinary treasures. And today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising examples of modern numismatic value, the 2001 D1-cent coin, a penny that in certain rare conditions and with specific minting errors has sold for an astonishing $140,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, a simple copper-plated zinc penny struck in 2001 at the Denver Mint, which for most people is worth only 1 cent, can under the right circumstances be worth as much as a luxury car or a down payment on a beautiful home. And in this detailed and extensive breakdown we're going to explore exactly how this happens, what makes this coin so special, the specific errors and varieties that push its value into six-figure territory, and how you might be able to spot one in your own change or collection. So let's begin by setting the stage. The 2001 D penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent series, a design that had been in circulation since 1959 when it replaced the wheat cent reverse. The obverse still featured the iconic bust of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse depicted the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And by 2001 the U.S. Mint was striking billions of these pennies each year using copper-plated zinc planchets, a change made in 1982 to save production costs as copper prices rose. The Denver Mint, indicated by the small D mint mark on the obverse under the date, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of these coins in 2001, so on the surface there's nothing particularly rare about them, which makes the existence of a six-figure 2001 D penny all the more intriguing. The key is in the minting errors and varieties, because when something goes unexpectedly wrong during the coin's production, it can create a unique piece that collectors are willing to pay handsomely for. One of the most dramatic errors that can occur is a double die obverse, where the hub that impresses the design into the die shifts between strikes, causing noticeable doubling on features like the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust." And when the doubling is bold and clear without the need for magnification, the coin's value skyrockets. For a 2001 D penny with such a dramatic double die in pristine uncirculated condition, collectors can pay tens of thousands of dollars. Because it's both rare and visually striking. Another high-value error is the off-center strike, which happens when the coin blank is not properly seated in the press, resulting in a design that is shifted away from the center. The more off-center the strike while still retaining the full date, the more desirable it is, with extreme examples of 50% or more off-center fetching huge sums. Then there are broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, causing it to spread out and flatten, creating an unusual appearance that stands out instantly. Another fascinating and rare error is the clip planchet, where a curved portion of the blank is missing because it was cut from too close to the edge of the metal strip. These crescent-shaped clips can range from small slivers to large missing chunks, and while interesting on their own, they can be even more valuable when combined with other errors. Perhaps the most exciting category is wrong planchet errors, where a penny is struck on a blank meant for another denomination. For example, a 2001 D penny struck on a dime planchet will be smaller, lighter, and have a silver-colored copper-nickel composition instead of copper-plated zinc, and examples like this are so rare that they can command massive premiums at auction. Equally rare are double denomination errors, where a coin is struck first as one denomination and then struck again as another, creating a strange mix of two different designs, making it a unique piece of minting history. Another valuable variety involves repunched mint marks, a phenomenon that happened more often in earlier decades but can still occur in modern coins, where the D mint mark is punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating a noticeable doubling or shadow effect, though subtle compared to dramatic errors like off-center strikes. A repunched mint mark in a high grade can still be extremely sought after. The condition of the coin plays a crucial role in its value, as professional grading by companies like PCGS or NGC can dramatically increase the price if the coin is determined to be mint state and free from wear, scratches, or spotting. A 2001 D penny with a dramatic error graded MS68 or higher is practically a unicorn, and when such a coin appears at auction, collectors are willing to engage in fierce bidding wars because the opportunity to own it may never come again. Part of what makes these coins so appealing is the human fascination with mistakes. In a process designed to produce billions of identical coins, any slip in the machinery that results in a one-of-a-kind piece becomes instantly intriguing. It's a physical piece of history, a frozen moment when the mint's normally precise process went awry, surviving against the odds to find its way into the hands of collectors. The 2001 D penny also benefits from the fact that it's modern enough that many are still in circulation, meaning that anyone could theoretically find one by chance. There are real-life stories of people discovering rare error coins in pocket change, in rolls from the bank, or in old jars and boxes in the attic. While the odds are slim, they are never zero, and this chance of finding something extraordinary in the ordinary keeps people searching. Imagine the thrill of spotting a dramatic off-center strike or wrong planchet penny in your change from the grocery store, realizing it could pay off your debt or fund a major purchase. The psychology of collecting plays into this as well, with wealthy collectors seeking to own not just any coin, but the best example available of a rare error, pushing prices ever higher for the top specimens. The combination of rarity, condition, and visual appeal is the trifecta that leads to a coin like the 2001 D penny fetching $140,000, and it's why numismatics remain such an exciting and sometimes lucrative hobby. And as you hold a penny in your hand, remember that while most are worth exactly 1 cent, a tiny fraction holds stories, mistakes, and mysteries that can make them worth more than their weight in gold. So keep your eyes open, because the next valuable coin could be hiding in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2001 D penny and the incredible world of minting errors that can turn pocket change into serious money, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our next fascinating journey into the treasures hidden in everyday life. Last, we uncover the hidden stories, fascinating details, and jaw-dropping values behind some of the rarest coins in existence, coins that most people wouldn't give a second glance but that in reality could be worth life-changing sums of money. And today we're diving into one of the most extraordinary examples of how a simple piece of pocket change can turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure, the 1996 D 1-cent coin, a Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint that in certain ultra-rare circumstances and with specific errors and mistakes can fetch an astonishing $8 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single penny worth as much as a luxury yacht, a private island, or multiple high-end homes. And in this deep dive we are going to explore exactly how such an incredible value is possible, what minting errors and varieties can push a coin to this level, the history and production context of the 1996 D penny, how to identify these rare features, and why collectors are willing to pay such staggering prices for them. So let's start with the basics. The 1996 D penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which began in 1959 and continued until 2008, featuring Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo. By 1996 the U.S. Mint was producing pennies in massive numbers, billions each year, and the Denver Mint's output was marked with the small D mint mark just below the date. These coins were made of copper-plated zinc, a composition adopted in 1982 after rising copper prices made the older 95% copper cents too expensive to produce. Now, given that billions of these coins exist, It's easy to think none could be particularly rare, but the magic, and the money, is in the mistakes, because when errors occur during the minting process, they can create one-of-a-kind or extremely limited pieces that collectors will fight over, paying extraordinary amounts to own them. And in the case of the 1996 D penny, certain spectacular errors combined with immaculate condition have resulted in examples selling for up to $8 million. So what kinds of errors could possibly make this happen? One of the most famous and visually striking is the double die obverse, which occurs when the hub used to impress the design onto the die shifts slightly between impressions, causing a ghostly doubling effect on key elements like the date, Liberty, or I in God We Trust. 4. 1996 D. Some rare double die obverse varieties exist where the doubling is bold enough to be seen without magnification, making them instantly desirable. Then we have off-center strikes, which happen when the planchet, the blank coin disc, isn't properly aligned in the press, causing the design to be struck off-center. The most valuable of these are dramatically off-center by 50% or more while still showing the complete date, because collectors want both the dramatic visual appeal and the ability to identify the year and mint mark. Another major category is the broad strike, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter, creating a flattened, unusual shape. And while broad strikes are generally less valuable than some other errors, combining a broad strike with a rare variety or pristine condition can make for a seriously high-value coin. Clipped planchets are another notable error, where part of the coin is missing in a crescent-shaped clip because the blank was cut too close to the edge of the metal strip. While common in minor forms, a large clip on a 1996 D in mint state can draw strong interest, but perhaps the most valuable errors are wrong planchet strikes, in which a penny is accidentally struck on a blank meant for another denomination. For example, if a 1996 D penny was struck on a dime planchet, it would be smaller, lighter, and made of copper nickel instead of copper-plated zinc, creating an instantly noticeable and extremely rare collectible. Another even more astonishing possibility is the double denomination error, where a coin is struck first as one denomination and then mistakenly struck again as another. Imagine a 1996 D penny struck over a Roosevelt dime or Jefferson nickel. The bizarre, overlapping designs create a visual oddity that is nearly unique, and unique in the coin world often means priceless. There are also varieties caused by differences in the mint mark itself, such as repunched mint marks where the D was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, creating a doubling effect on the mint mark. And while subtle, these varieties in mint state condition can be worth far more than face value. But errors alone don't tell the whole story, because condition plays a critical role in determining value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect coin free from any visible marks even under magnification. A rare error in low grade might be worth hundreds or thousands, but in top grades, MS68, MS69, or that elusive MS70, the value can skyrocket. And this is where those multi-million-dollar prices come into play. When a one-of-a-kind or nearly unique error variety is discovered in flawless condition, wealthy collectors see it as the ultimate prize, a piece of minting history that will never be replicated, and they are willing to outbid each other in high-profile auctions to secure it. The allure is partly about the rarity and partly about the bragging rights of owning such a legendary piece. Another factor driving value is the story behind the error, because each minting mistake represents a tiny failure in the highly controlled, precision-driven environment of the US Mint. These coins are not supposed to exist, and yet they do, surviving quality control and entering circulation or being set aside by an observant worker or collector. This survival against the odds adds to their mystique. So when we talk about a 1996 D penny worth $8 million, we're talking about the perfect storm, a dramatic, highly visible minting error, absolute top-tier condition, and a coin market where competition among collectors for unique pieces is fierce. Now, how could someone actually find such a coin? The truth is that it could still be out there. 1996 D pennies are modern enough that many remain in circulation, so it's not impossible that one could turn up in change, in a bank roll, or in a collection that's been sitting untouched for decades. It's happened before. Stories abound of people discovering rare double dies, wrong planchet errors, and other valuable coins in everyday transactions. The odds are slim, but the possibility keeps treasure hunters and casual coin checkers alike searching. Identifying such a coin takes a keen eye and often a magnifying glass or loupe, as well as knowledge of what to look for. But sometimes the errors are so dramatic they leap out immediately, like an off-center strike missing half the design or a penny the wrong size and color, and that's why education is key. Because knowing the potential makes it worth taking the time to look closely at your coins. The coin collecting world thrives on this mix of history, artistry, and the thrill of the hunt, and when the stakes are as high as $8 million for a single penny, that thrill becomes almost irresistible. So while most 1996 D pennies are worth exactly 1 cent, a tiny handful are worth more than almost anyone could have imagined, and they remind us that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes it hides in the tiniest details, so keep your eyes open and your mind curious, because you never know when the next extraordinary discovery will drop into your hand as change. And if you've enjoyed this exploration into the 1996 D penny, its incredible potential value, and the minting errors that make such astronomical prices possible, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our next journey into the surprising and often unbelievable treasures hiding in everyday life.